Hello everyone, I am recording and this is tutorial 2 and I'm starting from the beginning. So I'm recording this tutorial and hopefully everything will be okay. So this is tutorial 2. And we are talking about financial institution risks. This is one part, which is the definition part. And the other one is the interest rate risk. Now the interest rate risk is actually the subject of the subject of what we are going to do. When we talk about the interest rate risk, it's two issues. One is the definition, which we already know it, but we also understand the causes of this, which is the refinancing risk, what we call refinancing risk, and reinvestment risk. This is how these risks come to life. Now, the other thing, which is the most important thing, is the measurement. We are not talking about the management, only the measurement. In the measurements, we have two models. We have a model called repricing model and the duration model. Now, I choose not to cover the duration model in this tutorial, but because this duration model, I want to talk about it more, so I saved it for the workshop. So whatever things that need more work and discussions, we will bring it to the workshop. So in the repricing model, which is the subject of this tutorial, we are talking about the measurement. And when we talk about the measurement, we talk about one issue. We have to go through two steps. One step is calculating the gap, which is risk-sensitive assets minus risk-sensitive liabilities equals the dollar gap. Now, this dollar gap can be plus, minus, or zero. Once I get the dollar gap, I have to multiply it by the changes in the interest rate. Now, the changes of the interest rate will bring me the net interest income. The changes in the net interest income. Now, the change in the net interest income, again, can be 0, plus or minus. I am only concerned about the minus, which is my risk. Here, 0, I have no risk, and plus, I am happy because my interest income is increases. So the net interest income is actually the net interest income risk. The net interest income impact is the problem with dropping this number. Okay. Now I have a problem. Actually, I don't have problems. It's just things that we have to think about it. Is the identification of, because this is the problem with most students last time when they mess, is to know what is the risk-sensitive assets and what is the risk-sensitive liabilities. We can know them from two issues. Either those two guys, number one, and either they are short-term, or you find a word called floating, or another word called variable. So if the item in the risk-sensitive asset or risk-sensitive liabilities is this type of ones, so they are become risk-sensitive. if you are want to calculate a horizon. Now, the second thing is, even if they are fixed, the maturity. Which means when I have a gap, which is risk-sensitive asset minus risk-sensitive liabilities, and this horizon, which is, for example, from 1 to 3 months, and I find this 10, this is 1 to 3 months, and I find that this is 10 and this is 40, which means I have now minus $30 gap, right? Now, this minus 30 means I will get my money back from the borrowers, which is the assets of 10, but I have to pay 40. Now I have to pay 40, where is the rest 30? The rest of these liabilities is actually scattered through all this horizon. Maybe some of them going to 2 years loans, housing loan 20 years, car loan 5 years, I don't know, where is it? Those guys want their money back now. So either I convince them to roll over the, what we call roll over their liability, their deposit, which means continue with me, roll it over to the next year, or I can find another depositors. This is not the problem. The problem is if the interest rate is changing. If the interest rate is changing and the interest rate is going up, I'm not okay. Why? Because I have to ask for 30, and if there is an increase, so I have now minus 30. If there is a changes in the interest rate, and this change is plus, which means the net interest income is minus. Minus times plus. So this is the plus I. This is the change in I, and it is plus, so I have a minus. This is where we come here to this risk. So the issue is either I look to maturity or I look to this short term. If I give you a balance sheet for 1 year, you know it's already, the horizon is 1 year. So in this case, you will go through this process. You will go through this process and you will start checking for the short-term, floating, and variable. If not, then you have to calculate the horizons like a bank or mutual fund or whatever, and get the exposure of each horizon. Now, let me go to, if you understand this, because I want you to be aware of it. Most of the problem we have is the maturity. Somebody will say, well, a fixed asset, a fixed deposit, no, a long-term liability of 2 years, and then a long-term of 50, and a long-term asset, a fixed asset, fixed loan for 2 years of 10, and fixed liability, fixed rate liability for 2 years of 50. That is 10 and this is 50. Somebody would say, oh, this is fixed and fixed, I don't care. No, because they are maturing in the same 2 years. I will have to pay for the liability people, and I will have to collect, and I will collect from the borrowers, which is the assets. End of the day, the liability want to collect 50. So I have to arrange for that 50 with the new rates. This is where we have to go to the problem of what we call repricing. Now let me go to here, my friends. I'm sorry I take 14 minutes to explain this, but it's important. Look at this problem. This is a balance sheet. And as you see now, this balance sheet is 1 year. Which means now I will have to go and check each one of those and see which one variable and which one is floating, which one is short term, I make it risk-sensitive asset, which means I will look for the risk-sensitive asset here and then look for risk-sensitive liabilities. Then I will go and check for the increase in the interest rate and change in the and multiply it and get the. So as you can see, the process of checking which one is variable and which one is floating and which one is short-term and which one is fixed is the issue, not actually the numbers. Okay, so let me go now and work on this one. Let's see. Notes and coin, it's not a loan. When we say risk-sensitive asset means I lent someone else. This is in my, it's not a loan. Long-term investment securities, this will mature because the horizon here is 1 year. Long-term means it's more than 1 year. I don't want it. Variable loan, I already find the word, which means even if it is for 10 years, every time the interest rate change, it will change. So I will take it. Now, long-term fixed rate loans, no, I will not take it, which means more than 1 year. Building, no, this is not an earning asset. Done. Come for risk-sensitive liabilities. Do we have, this is overnight, interbank. Interbank can come from 1 day, actually from few hours sometimes. From 9 o'clock at night to 9 o'clock in the morning, this is what's happening, the interbank lending when we have settlement in the central bank. That is as short as that time. And then you can expand it to 3 months, but there is nothing called interbank for 4 years or 5 years. It's less than 1 year all the time. So it's actually, when we say interbank, we're really implying it's a short term. And if it is a short term, it's floating. And so we take it. Now, when we say non-interest bearing, this is non-interest. There is no interest change. So I don't want this. Then fixed deposits, I don't take it. Short-term saving deposits. Fixed deposit means there is no change, okay? But it means they are not talking about maturity. It's fixed deposit end of the year, which means it's continuing. Short-term deposit, the word here, I take it. So now I end up only by this and this. So I know this is 65 and this is 40. So now the hard issue is calculated. So I get the gap, risk-sensitive asset minus risk-sensitive liability, which minus 5. Now the rest of this is easy, which means all I have to do now is to multiply it by what? By the increase or decrease, because as I told you, 2 steps. The gap, calculate the gap, and then calculate the net interest income. The changes the net interest income. Change in net interest income, you take the gap times the change in the interest rate, which is minus 25. I'm done. Now, let me tell you something. So you are, look, take it just the rules for you. So you don't have to think about so many things. If you have risk-sensitive asset, the pricing model like this, this could be plus, minus, okay? Or 0. Let's talk about the plus, minus. Now you are concerned about the risk, just like this. The interest rate, you have the interest rate. Now the interest rate could be plus or minus, which means now if the, easier for you, if the gap, this is the gap. If the gap is plus and the interest rate is going up, I'm fine, because plus times plus is plus. This is the impact of the net interest income. If the liabilities is higher than the assets, the first stage is the assets is higher than the liability. So this is plus. If the liabilities is higher than the asset and the interest rate is going down, I'm fine, I'm happy, because minus plus minus will make plus to the net interest income. The problem is when I have plus and the interest rate is going down. This is already making me minus. Or I have high liabilities and the interest rate is going up.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, why is a fixed deposit not included?
Because if this is a balance sheet and it's end of the year, fixed deposit means it is continuing. It's more than 1 year. I am
Oh,
calc-
okay.
I am calculating
So
the horizon. Understand, sir? Thank you for the.
I
Okay.
see, I understand now.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
This
you.
it just assume that uh both asset and liability have the same interest rates.
Yeah. The assumption is this. And
Oh,
this
I
is
see.
this is one of the problems with the repricing, which means not they have the same interest. We think if there is an increase in the market of 1%, 1% will be increased to the rate of the liabilities, and 1% will be increased to the asset to the rate of the assets. It doesn't mean they are the same. Maybe one is 8, the asset is 8, and the liabilities is 7. If there is an increase, the asset will be 9 and the liabilities will be 8.
I see. I get it now.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, understand. Okay, so this is if the other case happens. If this is minus and this is plus, then I am not okay. Those both of them as risk. So having said that, now in the repricing model, it should be very easy for you. You just look the sign, if the sign plus and minus, and see the increase or decrease. And you can see if the sign will produce if this multiplication will produce a minus sign, it's risk. If it is producing a plus sign, it's not risk, and that's it. So you can see it from here very easy. Now this is case one, okay, which I told you. I give you a balance sheet, and the assumption when I give you a balance sheet is 1 year horizon. The balance sheet is 1 year horizon. Now let's look at this next stage, because I told you either a balance sheet or a maturities like this one. This one is a pension fund. It looks like a trader. Maybe he's a pension fund. And he has in his inventory every crazy securities. They didn't tell us that whether they are variable or fixed. They are telling us, we know some of them are variable and some of them are fixed, but here they want to calculate their assets. This is their inventory. So they can now calculate what is happening what is going to happen if there is an interest rate changes through those horizons. So my first task is to collect the maturities, the horizons, which means I have to build many horizons. In this question, they give us calculate for 30 days, 90 days, or 2 years. I can calculate even for 5 years or 7 years. I can. For 7 years, I can. So I have for 1 month, I have 3 months, I have 2 years, I have 10 years. I can calculate that. So I can calculate for all of those. Now, he wants only 30 months, 30, 30 days. We want to calculate for 90 days and 2 years. Remember, when I say 30 days, which means up to 30 days, everything with that 30 days, take it. Everything below that 30 days, take it. When I say 90 days, which means anything matures before 90 days, take it. When I say 2 years, anything matures, so we are talking about C gap, which is cumulated gap. Okay. Now, and this is what they do. This is what they do in the industry. Let's talk about 30 days. Anybody help me in the 30 days? When you help me in the 30 days, you will find, let's go here. Cash is not as in our calculation actually, but I know that this is 1 month note. This is an asset that is giving me, and it matures in 1 month. Oh, so this is 30 days. Any other thing 30 days in the assets? No. I go to the liability. Overnight, oh, this is my friend. I know it. This is from few days until whatever. So it's a short term anyways. So I know it's less than 30 days. So I will take it. This is 7 years. This is equity. Equity means, one of my students in the other tutorial said why we didn't take equity. Equity, they don't receive interest. What they receive is dividends. So they have nothing to do with the changes of the interest and the market. If they are debitors, yes. But if they are shareholders, this is shareholders. We have only dividends to them. So this one is out. So if I want to calculate, just to calculate the gap for 30 days, I have only two items. This guy and this guy, which is 75 minus 70, 90. This is the dollar gap for how many? 30 days. Now, if I tell you, if I didn't calculate now the impact of the interest rate. If I give you information now and I tell you there is an interest increase within 3 months of 1%, 2%, you can calculate. Okay? But I know these guys have a negative gap. Okay. Let's go. They say calculate also for me 91 days. Let's go to 91 days, which means I will take this guy and I will take this guy. Anybody else in the asset side? 2 years? No. 10 years? No. What about corporate bonds? Anybody help me with the corporate bonds? Take it or not take it? Any suggestions?
Don't take it.
Don't take it?
Yeah. Hey, wait, take it because it's quarterly. 90 days, right, sir?
Take it or not take it?
Take it, take it. Final answer.
Why? Why I should take it?
Quarterly, so 90 days, right?
Yes, because it's repriced. Thank you, sir. Because it's repriced quarterly. This is one of the tricks. So since it's repriced quarterly, which means still, it's a corporate bond, I don't know for how long, maybe 20 years. But the agreement with the bondholders is, guys, don't worry if there is a change in the interest rate. I will reprice it for you after, when we say reprice it, which means look to the interest rate. If there is changes, every 90 days, we will change it for you. So they are happy. So I take it. So I have this and this and this. Now, don't worry about the notes. I'm recording this tutorial and I will upload the solution of this tutorial. So I just want you to concentrate and write other notes. Don't worry about, it will be uploaded for you. So I take this one, and this one, which means 75, 75, 25. It should be 150, 175 minus 70, which means this one. Okay, let's go for the 2 years. The 2 years, I have only to take this one. I add it in the, oh, I didn't calculate the liabilities. Liabilities only for the 90 days, I have only 170, nothing. I have only 170 and 7 years. So for the 2 years, I will take this one, this one, this one, and this one, and this one. And then for the liabilities, I have only 170. So in this case, I'm taking 75, 70, 25, 50, minus the 170. This is my exposure in 2 years' time, which is, you can see it, it's cumulated gap. All of those are cumulated gaps. Okay. Now, having said that, I think you are okay. Let's go now. This is the only calculation in this tutorial. We have so many calculations in the workshop. Now let's go, my friends, and go back to our theory question. Now, the first question is, how does the policy, any question about the calculation? Can I continue?
Sir, can I ask what is repricing? Can you please explain that?
Repricing means coming back and reconsider the changes in the interest rate in the market. So we reprice the asset or the liability. And
Okay.
this model, we price the cost of them, which means the interest rate. So when we reprice them, we have chance to see our exposure to the changes in the interest rate risk. This is the whole story. Okay, sir?
Okay, thank you. So, sir, are you just based on the changes in interest rate, are you going to rewrite the values of these assets and liabilities in the balance sheet, or is it just to understand the impact
No,
on
as in
interest
banks,
income?
in banks, we don't care about all of this. We don't care about balance sheet. We don't care about in finance in general. We want, for example, when we see our exposure, which we say, well, we expect the changes in the interest rate or the risk because of the expected changes in the interest rate. We expect the risk to be 10 million, for example, which is the change in the net interest income. So the next question is what you are going to do about it. We report this to the management, and the management say, oh, okay, we will do derivatives. We will buy any types of default swaps. We will buy anything of interest FRAs, which is this I will teach you in the future, which means contracts, forward rate contracts for interest to protect us against this one. So if there is,
Okay, thank you, sir.
yeah, sure. So we don't care. It's not accounting. This is only finance. We don't change the balance sheet. Okay. This is a good question. See, your group is good group. I'm happy I'm recording this tutorial. All of the groups are okay, but I mean these groups. There is some questions, so we can, clear some of the doubts. Okay. Now, my friends, let's go and talk about the first question. How does the policy of matching the maturities of assets and liabilities, they ask, work against the asset transformation? What do they mean? Okay, if I am interest rate manager, I'm trying to manage it. My concern is this guy, the gap. And this gap I will control it according to the movement of the interest rate in the market. If it is going up, I want this to be plus. If the interest rate is going down, I want this to be minus. So there is no impact on my net interest income, as I told you, because plus times plus equals plus, and minus times minus equals plus. So this is all my concern with this one, to control the gap, because the gap then I have to calculate it with the changes in the net interest income. Come to the function of intermediation. Intermediation is telling me the following issue. Take asset transformation, which we talked about it, this concept of take very liquid liability like my deposit, which is for 1 month, and please convert it to 20 years housing loan. So this is they want to go with this, with the asset transformation issue, which is the issue that serves the economy. These guys say no. Interest rate is going down. I am not going to give more assets, because if the interest rate goes down, I want this to be minus. You are telling me to make it up. You want me to make this plus. I cannot do that. I have to control the interest rate. I'm telling you, take very liquid assets and bring more assets, which means increase this number. The interest rate manager or risk manager, no, if the interest rate is going down, he wants this to be down. Those guys want the assets to be up. Very liquid asset deposit, change it to house loan, so increase this to serve this function of asset transformation. So actually they have a conflict. Both of them have conflict. So there is conflict between asset transformation and interest rate management. Okay, so I come back to the question. Maturity, now I want you to understand something to make it a little bit, nice. So there is a conflict actually between something called matching and asset transformation. Because this guy, which is the interest rate management, is looking for the matching. Sometimes he only wants this even to be zero, to be, safe or everything. So he wants to match the asset and liabilities based on the movement of the interest rate. This guy does not look for matching. So there is a conflict, you can say conflict of matching or and asset transformation, or conflict between interest rate management and asset transformation, whatever you like. So maturity matching allows changes in market interest rates to have approximately the same effect on both interest income and interest expenses. Fine. An increase in rates will tend to increase both income and expenses and vice versa. We understand that. We just want to know how our exposure. If we are equally exposed, then it's okay. So asset transformation doesn't want the matching. They don't want it. They want always to be, the maturity is very, very different. So the asset transformation function of financial institution involves investing short-term liabilities into long-term assets, right? Therefore, there is a conflict. It's very easy to understand it here, but if there is multiple choice question with this nature, you are aware. I will move to the next question if there is no. Everybody happy with this first question? It's a 31. Hopefully everything is okay. So number 2, why can insolvency risk be classified as a consequence outcome of any or all of the other type of risks? Look, my friends, this is all the risks. This risk has to go to management to control it. And this management has to go. And then if the management is not enough, we will go to what we call we will go to something called the capital. Still, the risk is coming. And if the capital is not enough, dying, then we will go to being bankrupt, which is the bank is now shut down, which is actually those things which I told you before. This is what we are talking about. Interest rate goes here. So actually the pot of all those ones, all the losses that accumulated according to our business are going to be, mitigated by the management systems. Like when you have what you call provision for bad debt, good governance, all those types of enough liquidity, all of those, reserves you make it in this area. Then, but there is unexpected. The management cannot, the reserves cannot take all the losses here. So it goes to the capital. Hopefully the capital is not enough. Is not enough, it's go. So actually look at this graph, which I told you about before. This is the management. So the reserves is here. Reserves is here. Provision of bad debt. Provision is here in this area. The capital should be the green one. So if this is a management issue, if the management, which is this one, which is this one. Now, if the management is not enough, it will go to the capital, as I told you, this one. Hopefully this area will be enough. If not enough and it continue here, then I am gone. This is the probability distribution. These people of econometrics and the statistics, which is among you, they understand what I'm talking about. If you don't understand it, that's fine, my friends. It's very fine. It's just, this is the distribution of all losses. Part of it is expected, part of it is not expected. Capital is there to manage the unexpected. COVID come suddenly, then there is credit risk, there is liquidity risk, there is so much problems. We make losses as banks last time. Hopefully the capital will prevent us. I mean, if we eat this, then we eat this, hopefully we are here, around here. We are gone, and this is why regulators are crazy about bank capital, either Basel or the other people. Okay, I'm done over this concept. Let's go to the third concept. What is technology risk? This is easy. My friends, you already know all these technologies. If we have now internet banking, before I move from question 2, is there any question here in this area? Any questions here? Okay.
No, sir, thanks.
Thank you very much. So what is the technology risk? Technology risk is if I am one of those banks and started to do internet banking, ATM machines, and now in internet banking, you can open account, you can transfer amount, you can take a loan, you can manage your loans, you can change your IDs, you can do all those things. But now some of the banks, and this technology is just every time we have new apps, new systems, new security systems, so if you are not smart in that area, and you start, this is why Maybank, look, if Maybank have FICE and also public bank, all these banks, we don't have that before. We have CEO, we have FICE CEO for marketing, operation, whatever. Now we have CEO and vice CEO for technologies, they call it operations, which means those guys are only concerned about the systems or those technologies. Now, if we acquire the wrong technology, we are gone. Or if we acquire a technology that failed, like somebody go and hack us, if there is hacking of one of those banks today in Malaysia, it's gone, my friend. It's gone. Even if they don't steal the money, they just play with the records, you will just close down, shut down the other day. So technology risk occurs when investment in new technologies does not generate the cost saving expected. We understand this. And I told you sometimes we buy a system, it doesn't give anything. It doesn't add anything. We have problem with security, it doesn't improve it. We just do stupid decisions or calculated decisions, and we inquire in all technologies, whatever, and we are on. But the issue I want to tell you is that the economic scale. Now, the economic scale is related to, it comes when we operate under our capacity, which means we are talking about something called fixed cost. Now, the fixed cost will give me a capacity. For example, if I'm in a factory, I can produce up to, and Proton, maybe I can produce up to 700 cars or Proton a month. But now, if I'm producing now 500, I still have room to produce 200. But if I'm producing already 700, there is no more for economic scale. If you cannot scale anymore. Or if I'm producing the car, for example, for 28, for 30,000, and then variable cost, just the machines and the labor for 30,000, and I am selling it for 28. Scaling will only increase my losses. If my variable cost is higher, then there is no way. I'm just increasing. So my friends, please understand, economic of scale is a concept related to scaling and using the full capacity or the full fixed cost. If we are operating now in losses due to the variable cost, we cannot scale. Which means now, just to make it clear, economic of scale is related to profitability. I scale because I want to get my profit. And this is one of the multiple questions we have. It's not the decrease only in cost. If a decrease in cost, if there is only one option, decrease in cost, take it. And I will explain this question. If I say profitability, then you take the profitability issue. It's just one multiple choice. I will explain it in the. So this is what we call economic of scale. Economic of scope is the other issue which you already talked about it. Now, if I am one of those banks and I have 20,000 credit cards for those guys, young guys, and I knew that the age of those people, maybe they are guys like you, just graduated, having income between 3 and 4K, and they are okay. Now, I know how their behavior, and I take of course, the quality of them, which is 98% of them, and they started to say, okay, I know the behavior of those people, I know their income, let me introduce from this data of credit risk and analyzing the credit card information, I can say, okay, let me produce a tourism package and give them and offer them a new product for tourism package so they can go to these neighboring countries during the weekends or whatever, Chinese New Year or Christmas or whatever. Then I can say also, what if I offer them car loans? The same group. So I know their behavior, I know their income. So actually, there is a cost when I collected the information of the credit card. But I will not use it for credit card. I can use this information to produce. So information is, and this cost of collecting this information, which are supposed to give me one output, which is studying the credit card. I can now have more than one output. I can use them to produce tourism package. I can use them to produce car package, car loan package, credit card package, higher education package, whatever. So this is the question. Economic scope occurs when financial institution is able to lower the cost of producing new products, which is the information, with inputs similar to those used for other outputs. Please think about credit card, and then I can produce from this information. So credit card, I can produce tourism package, loan package, what you call car loan. Higher education package, all of those things. So understand that from here, and this is in financial services industry, the use of data existing customers databases. We use the existing customer databases to assist and providing new service products. An example of economic scope. So this is the economic scope. Okay, let me go to the next question. Discuss the interrelationship among different sources of bank risk. This is also another question, another easy question. We have something called marginal risk distributions, which means now, just to understand it, we have all those type of risks, right? 10 risks. You can talk about credit risk, you can talk about market risk, you can talk about credit, market, liquidity, all those off balance sheet, whatever. But now take, for example, credit risk, take market risk. A problem happened in the market, like increasing the interest rate. Now, increasing the interest rate, I'm giving my customers loans of, say, I have a business loans of 100 million, and it is 5%. or say 7%. Bank Nigara now is charging 2% overnight. He increased it to 5%. Now, this rate actually was the 3% for them, for Bank Nigara. This is how they calculate the rate. The basic rate in the bank plus our spread, which is 5%. So it's 7%. So when this guy increased 3%, I will increase it here. So now it is 5% of Bank Nigara plus my 5% of mine. This is 10%. So this is a market risk, which is an increase, and the interest rate risk, which is increase of interest. The problem now, this problem now will become a credit risk. Why? Because my customer, maybe his project cannot give 10%, so he will default. And if he will default, he will not pay me the money. And if he doesn't pay the installments and the money, then the money coming to the bank is less, which means I have less cash, which means liquidity problem. So it becomes market, then it becomes interest, maybe market, interest, then it becomes credit, then it becomes liquidity. See, we move. So when I come and say, okay, market risk management guys, tell me how much is the market. Then I go to the interest, calculate it, and I add them up. I cannot get the risk matrix of the bank, the total risk. We have to develop models called, we take the marginal distributions, because all of those risks are overlapping. So having said that, the word is overlapping risk. So we need only to take, we don't want to take the overlapping, we want to take the marginal risk of each one and add all of them. So in this case, my friends, just to explain this issue, measuring individual risk creates false impression that they are independent. They are not independent. Increase, as I told you, we can go from market to increased interest rates, forcing floating rates, maybe to a credit risk. As I told you here, I have interest rate of 5%. I'm giving this loan. Central bank increased it from 2 to 3. My loan to this guy was floating, which means based on the movement of the interest rate of the central bank. So when I add it, it will be 10%. So increased interest rate forcing floating rate may lead to credit risk. Borrowers may force to bankruptcy, like this businessman. This reduction in bank risk may be obtained only in the possible exposure of increased credit risk. See? Now, similarly, you can talk about off-balance sheet risk, which is the derivatives. Now, the derivative contracts, the off-balance sheet actually is the operations, the off-balance sheet actually. This is the abbreviation. The off-balance sheet is derivative contracts. Now, derivative contracts, we have contracts for credit, hedging credit risk, hedging interest rate risk, hedging market risk. All of those is actually a combination of the off-balance sheet. So when we come and they tell me, oh, I'm measuring the off-balance sheet, you have to measure all those risks, which is coming from, you have to take the marginal risk when you calculate the off-balance sheet risk. So this is the other things. Moreover, the failure of collection and payment systems. For example, this is a technology risk. We have a customer who cannot collect because his system is hacked, or there is a problem in technology that this customer collection system is not working very well. So he doesn't have any cash. Maybe he will go to a problem of in the company. I mean, no liquidity, loss of data, loss of cash, whatever. So second day, he will not pay to you. So technology risk become a credit risk. This is technology risk. become a credit risk. So all of this, as a result, when we do follow-up the system, sophisticated models that attempt to take all those issues. Okay, let me go to the next question. What is the repricing gap? This is easy, which we already talked about it. This is the repricing, this is the refinancing gap. So I have 100 million, I already explained it, 100 million. This is liability, this is asset. So this guy gave it 100 million for 10%. I gave a loan for 12%. In year two, I don't know what is the rate. If there is a change, now in this case, I have to go with the new rate. So I have to rule over this liability here for the next year and new rate. So all of this called this issue, or because of this issue, which I don't know, called refinancing risk. Okay, which is here. So refinancing risk is the uncertainty of higher cost of a new source, which is here. Maybe this will become now 11 or even 12% of new source of funds that are being used to finance long term. This is the long term. The risk occurs when assessment asset maturities, which is this one, this is 2 years and this is 1 year, is higher than liability maturities. Example, 10 year, this is, we say 2 years, but it can be 10 years, is financed by 2 years. You can make this 10 years, for example, and you can make this 2 years. Okay. Are we okay, guys? We have only 3 minutes. So what is the repricing gap? Repricing gap is the difference between risk-sensitive assets and risk-sensitive liabilities. Repricing gap, difference between the dollar, which is easy thing. Risk sensitivity represents the timely interval, which is the, already explained it to you. On what financial performance variable does repricing model focus? We focus on net interest income. So if the interest rate changes, this guy will change. Net interest income will change. We have done this, we have done this, and then we come to the next question, which is outline the advantages and disadvantages of simple dollar gap. It's very easy, and it focuses. Duration is solving the problem. This is it's very easy, as you can see. We have only 2 steps to do it. We have to collect information, of course. Now the disadvantage is it doesn't take into consideration the market value, which means the duration will do that for us. It doesn't take the cash flow, the discount of the cash flow coming. So you have 3 years and the amount is coming after 20 years. You have a loan of 10 years, the money is coming after 10 years or coming after 8 years or 5 years, or now it's the same horizon. It's not right. It doesn't, I mean, it doesn't, this is why they, it's right, we teach it, it's right, it's okay, because we divide it to horizons. But I mean, it's not strong like duration. Over aggregation, because when we take, for example, 1 to 3 months, 1 to 6 months, during these 6 months, maybe the gap will different. Maybe gap will change. And then runoffs, which means any payments, we don't take care of it, and it ignores off balance sheet risk. I am done, my friends. And we have talked about this before. Any questions? Any questions?
No, sir.
No, sir. All good.
Okay, thank you so much. And if there is no question, then I will see you in the, there is a chat here, I think. Oh, no, thank you, sir. Why? There is a question here. Why do we need to include the 10 years? We have to include the 10 years, just an example, because the example say it's 10 years or 2 years. We don't have to include the 10 years. It's just I'm trying to make it an example here. I don't know. Hani Wong, still there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you still there? So I had a question from you. Let me just answer your question. I will share again. So what we mean here, what you mean here, 10 years, I didn't, we don't have to include the 2 years. I don't know, this problem is running. Anyway, yeah, we don't have to include the 10 years. I just give it an example. I just give it an example here. I just give it an example when we talked about the risk sensitive asset and risk sensitive liabilities. This one, I don't have to include this one. No, I don't have to include it. I just, the example I make it is 1 year and 2 years. But then when it was here, 10 years and 2 years, if I want to apply this one, I would say, okay, this is, for example, 2 years. If I want to imply the example in the tutorial, and this is 10 years. Still, which means in year 2, I have to find someone, and this will be how many? 8 years. I have to find somebody else. I have to rule these deposits for 8 years. This is what we mean. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, clear?
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think, sorry, I couldn't catch the part, the last question, the simple dollar gap model. What do you mean by market value effect and the other one, what is it called? Yeah, the market value effect and over
Yeah,
exit.
I explained this very clearly in the
Oh, the slide, is it?
on the slide. Yeah, but I will explain it to you again. Look, if we have a loan of 3 years, this year this loan is 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, and this is year 1, year 2, year 3. Repricing gap will say this loan is 3 years. And when we calculate the risk sensitive asset and risk sensitive liabilities, we'll make this 30,000 in the rank of, for example, 3 years horizon. It will be here, which is 30,000 risk sensitive asset. But actually, this is paid in the first year, which means end of the third year, I have 0. And at end of the second year, I have only 10,000. End of the first year, I have only 20,000 because there is payment, right? During the life. Repricing model does not catch up this issue. It make it with the horizon of 3 years. Duration model come and take these discounts and decrease the area and make this maybe in the 2 years area. You have to calculate the duration of this, as I will show you in the workshop. And so it will decrease the maturity of this loan. So it doesn't take market value. Market value means 10,000 after 1 year. You have to discount it to here, right? And 10,000 after 2 years, to the power of 2. This is what we mean by market value. Did I make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense now.
Yeah.
Assume that the 10 million is fixed
Yeah.
throughout. Is
Yeah.
okay.
It assumes that the 10 million is fixed over the 10 years, which is not true.
And let me guess the other disadvantage, over aggregation.
Yeah.
It only takes consideration into the months, into the interval, right? Like 1 to 6 months,
Yeah.
and it disregard the month before, and it starts from 0.
Yeah. So if you are taking an interval between 1 and 6 months, they take that one. They look at what happened at the end of the 6 months. They don't see what happened in the first month, the second month. So what if the interest rates change in the third month? It doesn't catch it.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for your clarification.
Sure, sir. Any other questions? How is the speed of this? How is the speed, guys, of this tutorial? Was it okay?
Yes. Okay for me.
Yep. Okay, sir. Very good.
Okay. So if I keep this speed, then it will be okay. So is there any other questions? If there is no other questions, then I will just say thank you very much. I'm recording and I will stop this recording. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Good day.